Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm super happy to be here and to share with you some thoughts about branding, about marketing, and about how this absolutely important topic in our company's life is going to be even more important with digital spreading and accelerating its adoption due to pandemic, due to everything that we all know is happening in the last 1 year and a half. So we are going to talk about branding, and we're going to talk about branding by design, which is the idea that via digital, through technology, we can enable another way to create brand, another way to create value in a relationship with our customers through technology, through digital. So we're going to talk about how to build a great brand in what I like to call a post-digital world, which doesn't mean that we are willing to live in a world without digital. It's absolutely the opposite. It's the idea that we are going to live, and we are already living, in a world in which digital is almost everywhere. For centuries, human being has been accustomed to live in a place where physical stuff and physical objects are everywhere across us, and so we have to deal with them in everyday life. But with digital, something is changing in a very profound way, in a very deep way. And the overall idea is that when we add digital to the physical world, these enable a lot of opportunity, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of experience. And we're going to talk a lot about the experience today, because what we believe is very crucial in this new post-digital world economy is that really it's going to be about experience, not about stories, the way we are going to create brand. So the first point here is we are living in a post-digital world. As Angela said, my name is Giuseppe. I'm General Manager of INCON Communication, and we are going to share with you some thoughts about the way we deal with brand and marketing nowadays with our clients. As I said to Angela, there are a lot of slides, so please be sure to interrupt me if you want to add some thoughts to the conversation, if you want to have a clarification of what I'm going to share with you. There are going to be also some videos. We already checked with Angela that videos are working both on video and audio, so I'm hoping that you're going to enjoy the overall presentation I'm going to share with you. So let's start with some scenario information, some scenario data. We are living in a world full of data, full of message, and this is something that every day we experience in our life. If I remember, I was born in 1975, and I can remember that in Italy, at least, television was about 3 major channels, Rai 1, Rai 2, Rai 3, and there was few radio stations, but that was it. That was the opportunity that big brands have to speak with their clients. Basically, there were major mass media channels, mass media opportunities. Now everything has changed in the terms that we are exposed to a much larger amount of message. We are exposed to a lot of different stimuli, a lot of different interactions. And where are those interactions living? Those interactions are living inside our smartphones. So basically, we are experiencing every day more and more content, more and more data, more and more information through our smartphones, through our device. And what kind of content are we experiencing? Well, we have a lot of stories, for example. Every minute we have more than 350,000 stories that are being uploaded on Facebook. Every minute we have more than 41 million messages on WhatsApp. And we all know that right now WhatsApp is not only a messaging system, but it might be also a very interesting direct marketing tool that companies can leverage on and use for engaging directly with their clients. So a lot of message, a lot of photo. Every minute in Facebook, it's been uploaded more than 150,000 pictures. So how can a brand survive in a world when we have so many content, so much opportunities, so much stimulation from outside? How can we survive? Well, if we want to survive in a world full of content, what we need to become is a content factory. In fact, what we need to start doing is to start act in a way like a media company. So we have to create content. We have to be able to create storytelling in a visual way, because all those tools that we're talking about are not only about text, they are about visuals. And they're going to be more and more about augmented experience, which might be augmented reality or virtual reality, and everything you can imagine from the technology side. So we have to become, in a way, a media company. And this is the reason why we're talking about become a media company. Is the reason why is that people are consuming more and more content. Somebody, I don't know who, probably Google, track down how much content do we consume every day. And they find out that we basically are competing with everybody, and we consume something like 93 meters of content every single day, which means that with our thumbs, we scroll down 93 meters of content every day. And 93 meters is like the Liberty Statue. So basically every day with our thumb, we measure the height of the Liberty Statue. So it's very huge in terms of impact. But what kind of content are we consuming on those media? What kind of content do we like to see, or like to watch on those kind of device? Well, it turns out that the kind of content that people love is called branded content. And I give you a quite easy definition of branded content right now. Branded content is not something that we create through digital or through social media. It's something that is in the market since many years. And I give an example about that. Probably you are all familiar with this book. It's the Guide Michelin. And Guide Michelin is a book. It's a book about restaurants. It's a book about good restaurants and how to travel to arrive in a good place to have a wonderful meal that somebody else tried before us and give us some information about. So Guide Michelin was something created in latest century. But the point is that Guide Michelin was created by a company called Michelin. And as you all probably know, Michelin doesn't directly relate to restaurants. Basically, Michelin, what do Michelin do? Michelin create tires. And the point here is that what's the relationship between tires and restaurants? It turns out that there's some connection between tires and restaurant. And the connection was that in the last century, in the early part of the last century, there were not so many reasons to use cars. Basically, people were accustomed to be inside a city, to go by walk, to have a small leg travel between an house, another house, an office, or something like that. So what was missing was the opportunity or the reason why to take the car and go outside the town to visit a restaurant or to visit a town. So the great idea that Michelin had was, what about giving our customer the reason why to use our product without exactly talking about the product? So branded content is just that. It's the idea to provide people with interesting, relevant, significant content, not directly related to the product, but related to our brand. Because the more you go outside with your car to visit wonderful restaurant, the more you're going to use your car, the more you're going to find out that it's good to have a good tire, like the Michelin one, because it's not going to let you stuck in the middle of nowhere without your tire working properly. So basically, the difference here is from an approach like the left one, very rational, very strict to the product, and an approach like the right one, which is very related to emotional involvement. And more, using digital and using technology, we find out that people want an emotional involvement in the content that they use through smartphone. They don't want to get engaged only on a rational level, because once again, we give them so many stimulus that they don't have enough brain power to compute all these stimulus. They want to get emotionally involved in our content. So this is a first approach. So we are talking about the fact that we have to become a media company. And what kind of content do we have to create? We have to create the content that is able to create an emotional involvement with our customers. So this is the first point. The second point is that we are living in a very, very, very difficult world. I mean, in the last 1 year and a half, probably we have experienced some change that was not possible to in any way to imagine before. The Americans, which they love acronym, they love to find out new ways to define this kind of situation, and they call it VUCA. And VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So we are living in a VUCA world, in a very, very volatile world in which we need vision to be able to address all these changes that we are facing. We live in a very uncertain world. Then we need to be able to understand what are the real needs of a customer, because in a certain times, we need to be a guide for our customer. We live in a world with so much complexity everywhere. Then with our message, with our content, we need to be very clear, very straight to the point, very simple in our message if we want to let the people join us. And then there's a lot of ambiguity, because sometimes things are going to look good, sometimes feel like are going to turn out very bad. And so our communication, our strategies need to be agile in a way that we have to adapt to the opportunity that are in the market. And we need to understand how to leverage those opportunities. So we are living in a world in which there's a lot of content. This content is in the major part branded content, and we are living in a very VUCA world, very complex, very ambiguous, very difficult world for our clients. So the question here is, but what is a brand? Because we're talking about product, we're talking about branding, and the real point here is what is a brand? The real definition of brand, which I really like, is this one. The brand is a collective feeling of beliefs, perception of all individuals who interact with an organization or product or service that exists in the hearts and minds of customers. So in the end of the day, what is brand? Brand is not something you can touch. Brand is not something you can buy. But brand is the overall collection of feelings that people are for a company, for a product, for an organization. And those feelings lives in the hearts and the minds of our customers. So if I show you this, which basically is a product, and you all can imagine that this product might be a detergent, some kind of detergent. But if I add a brand to this detergent, then all of a sudden you have much more feelings about this product. It's not about only the product and these rational characteristics, rational features, but it's about the kind of emotional connection that you have with this kind of product. And I can give you a lot of examples about how this connection between brands and products work. If I, for example, show you a few postgraduates university in Italy, SDA Bocconi, probably you heard about them. It's a very well-known university in Italy. They do a postgraduate program, very focused on international management, business, innovation. And if I show you this other school, so again, a postgraduate product school, but with a different logo on it, then the kind of feelings, the connections that we have with this school are completely different. There's no international involved here. They are more focused on design, they are more focused on Italian lifestyle and so on. Let's move on this. So if you think about Nike, if you think about all the kind of TVC that you have seen in your life about Nike, what it turns out is that Nike never speaks about their product. Nike never show off their product. What do Nike do? Even before digital, they always talk about athletes. They honor athletes. They honor their ability to challenge themselves and to go forward. And this is the way to approach a brand. So not only talking about the product, but talking about the characteristics of those emotional connections we have spoken before. And even if you go further, for example, Panerai is a great Italian brand, well known across the world as a deep connection with Italy, deep connection with luxury, with success and stuff like that. But as you probably know, Panerai is not even Italian anymore, but the brand is Italian. And the kind of feelings that the brand is able to create is Italian. So moving forward from here, where is the value for a company in investing in a brand? It's very simple, because if you think about it in a very easy economic way, a company is basically an organization about these three lines: the way you produce your service, so the cost to produce, the price that you charge, and the perceived value. So for a company, investing in brands means investing in perceived value. And if we not invest in perceived value, what turns out to be the results is that we are going to compete with our markets and with our competitors only on price. So the first reason why a brand is important for a company is that a brand, a strong brand, enable us to have a higher perceived value. So to work on perceived value and to enlarge the opportunity to create value for our customers. But there's a second reason why having a great brand is helping us in our day-to-day business. And the reason why is that a great brand works for a company like oh my God, I don't remember the name in English of the light, how we call this? Il faro.
Lighthouse, Giuseppe.
Lighthouse. Thank you. I'm sorry. So a great brand might work for your company as a lighthouse for everyday decision. Because if you have a clear idea about how you want to be perceived for your customer, if you have a clear idea about what are the feelings that you want to create in the minds and in the hearts of your customer, then a brand might act as a lighthouse, allowing you to understand where to invest and where not to invest. I give you a few examples, or just one of them. I give you an example of Amazon. Amazon mission as a brand is to become the Earth's most customer-centric company. This is a statement, this is a brand statement, but it's also a way to address the company. Because every time a person in Amazon thinks about an investment, thinks about a new way to approach the evolution of a company, the only question they get asked inside the company is this aligned with our brand? Is this aligned with our vision, with the idea that we want to become the Earth's most customer-centric company? So a brand is useful for a company because it allows us to get a higher perceived value. And it's also very important for a company because it acts like a lighthouse, helping us in deciding where to invest and where not to invest. But why a brand is important for our customer, for your customer, even today? Well, the reason why a brand is so important for our customers is that our customers want less choice. They are living, as we said, in a very complex world. They need to make decisions every single moment of their day. So they need a guide during their day, a helping hand, somebody who supports them. So when people are going to love our brand, when they think that our brand is something that help them in get an easier way, in giving them trust, allow them to understand where to go, where not to go. So it turns out that customers doesn't want more choice. They want less choice. They want to trust the choice that they make, and they want to trust that that choice is going to help them not only in a single transaction, but in a long-term relationship. So what are the strongest brands right now in the world? Because again, if we want to find out how to create a great brand in a post-digital world, we have to see around us which are the greatest of the greats, and to understand how they become so great, okay? So it turns out that these are the most valuable brands. This is an inter-brand research. And it turns out that those are the brands that we all love. We all think that they are the best, the greatest of the greatest. Few of them are born technology. So they have been created through technology, through digital, like Apple, Google, Amazon, and stuff like that. Few of them have been reinvented through technology. So we are finding out something interesting here, which is that if you want to become a great brand, or at least if you want to become one of the greatest, then you have or be created through digital, through technology, or you have to reinvent yourself through technology, which is something quite interesting. Because if you think about the way that brands were created before digital, what typically was happening was that a company like mine, like yours, would go to an advertising agency, and this picture is taken from a very famous TV show called Mad Men, in which they tell a story about a very interesting advertising firm in the early 50s and 60s in America. And you go there and you ask them to create an advertising for you, to create a spot for you. I'm going to show you now the first TVC ever created. You have to put it in a structure in terms of timing, because it was in early 30, was 1941, and the advertiser was Bulova. I'm going to show you the advertisement, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this.
America runs on Bulova time.
That's it, $9. First TV commercial ever created. So I know that you are so impressed, so I'm going to re-watch it with you.
America runs on Bulova time.
So what's the point here? The point was that there was a new media. Somebody came out with a new media saying, we have television. We have a new way to tell our message to our customer. And what are the characteristics of this new media? Well, we have video, we have audio, and probably I can imagine that in that meeting with Bulova people and in the advertising agency, probably we were talking about, okay, we can handle this because we know how to create a great image. We have been doing print advertisements since centuries, so we know how to create a great image, and we know how to create a great audio message, because basically this is what we have done with radio. So we can add what we have learned with print media, we can add the radio, and then we have TV commercial. Funny enough, but that was what happened. So in a way, the first TVC show us what I like to call the Bulova effect. And the Bulova effect happens to a company every time we have a new media, a new technology, which has a lot of power, a lot of opportunity. But when they first come out, the first way for us to approach it is through engage with the traditional grammar that we have learned on radio and on print. It turns out that it takes something like 20 years before what we nowadays know as TV commercial comes out with a different edit, with music, with people acting. It takes like 20 years. In 1960, the first TV commercial come out with the way we today listen to them. I have received a question, so let me check the question, then we go on. Let's start. Say, Professor, you say customers want less choice, but how can we judge huge brands such as Unilever, which includes several sub-brands and provides various storylines as well as product to customer? Well, that's a great question, Esther. We are going to address this question later when we talk about post-digital world, but let's take it here. It's absolutely a great question. And it also turns out, probably there's an open mic. Okay, and probably it will turn out that, as you know, for Unilever tends not to create advertisements for themselves. They used to invest directly with the sub-brands, but we're going to talk a little bit more later on the topic. So let's move on from this area and let's talk a little bit about the way a brand can be created, the way a brand can leverage their power, can leverage their opportunity to create value for the customer. So basically, if you think about brands before digital, I think it's Michael. Michael, can you mute your phone or PC or desktop, whatever? I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what to say.
Hello, can everybody mute their phone, please? We've got some background noise coming through.
Okay, probably now it's okay. So let's go back to the topic we were covering. So if you think about the way that we've just seen the Bulova effect in action, the way brands were created before digital, the way we create brand before digital was trying to create storylines, try to create storytelling based on media consumption habits. So basically what we've done, we try to look people that are reading newspaper, listen to radio or watching TV, and we create message that were meant to create a cultural impact in the world. So it was very okay. So it was a very top-down approach where the idea was to entertain and impact an audience, to create something on a cultural level that allows us, when we are in front of a shelf, to decide which product we want. So we create a great storyline, we create a great message with a very top-down approach. We entertain and impact our audience to create a strong cultural value for our brands. And that works a lot. I mean, if you think about many brands that were able to create value in the last 50 years, like, once again, Nike, you know that they were able, through the kind of advertisement that they create, to build up those emotional connection with the just do it message, with the logo. But there are a few limits of this approach. The first one is that building brands the way we have done in a pre-digital world, it's basically like an act of monologue. So we are talking, and we are supposed that a customer have only one role, and their role is to consume the product, to be listening to us and consume the product. That's it. So it's our monologue, it's our stories. We are saying very cool stuff, and you have to listen to me. The second limit is that it's a very slow approach. If you think about creating a brand before digital, you need to be able to be consistent with your message in every single step of your work, and it's a very slow process. It takes time to consistently give the message away. And then the final limit of this approach is that a brand is, in this way of thinking of brand, is a very closed. So it's something very limited. It's not something that people can participate unless they want to consume our product or our service. So something has changed from before digital to the situation we are living right now. And what has changed? Well, first of all, what is changing is that, and probably you all have experienced the same kind of situation, is that the traditional media are not working anymore in the way they used to. Those pictures are taken from Instagram, and they are pictures of TV, LED, and other kinds of television that are simply put away from people around Italy. So traditional TV, it seems, is not working anymore. And even if you think about using the traditional kind of advertising on the internet, on the web, we find out that people are finding new ways to block our ads, which is by ad blocking or other tools that allows them to block the kind of content we can create. So the funny thing, or not so funny if we do advertising as a daily job, is that people are paying money to avoid what we spend our lives making. So if we create just advertising, if we create just messages, nowadays people don't like them anymore, because the kind of support they were in the past receiving from brands, which was guidance, which was helping them decide which product to choose from, that was the role of brands before digital. Now, who is taking this role? Who is taking the role of reducing uncertainty in our customers' life? They are Facebook, they are Google, they are all the big tech company, which are allowing our customer to ease their life, because now if they want to go from Milan to Vienna and they want to book an hotel, they don't just rely on a big brand name. They go on TripAdvisor, they check which is the best place to be in Vienna. And it's not only about Google and Facebook, but it's also about Amazon. Because even if you don't have a product on sale on Amazon, you can use Amazon as a marketing tool. So there are a lot of things that are changing, and those big tech are fighting against brands in people's minds, in people's hearts. But there's something that has not changed. And something that has not changed is that we are still working on creating trust with our customer. Because with trust, we can find the right way to make people choose us instead of our competitors. The only thing that has changed, and it's not a slight change, it's a very big one, is that media habits are not useful anymore. So we cannot think about creating a great brand nowadays just following our customer media habits, because their media habits have changed. We don't have to talk right now about media habits. We should talk about technological habits. which are not only read, listen, and watch, but every single thing that we do with our smartphone. And it is browsing, snapping, sharing, liking, posting, designing, syncing, every single kind of interaction that we might have through our smartphone is now an opportunity for a brand to create value in our customer life. Every single touch point through technology that we can enable is a great opportunity to create what I like to call experiences. Because what is experience? Experience is the sum of the interactions through technology that the person have with our brands. And if you think about it in a much larger way, then we don't have to talk anymore about marketing, because the word marketing means taking a product and put it in the market. And we are not talking about this anymore with all those digital devices around us. We are talking more about enabling, which means our aim with branding activities, with communication activities, is not only to put a product and to put it on the market, is to find a new way through technology to enable our customer to feel our value in their everyday life. So we're talking more and more about enabling and not about marketing. So the moment of interaction between people and brands through technology, they take priority over the narrative value of ideas. And I give you a few examples of this. Probably you have heard about the new Google logo 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they changed the logo. But what you probably haven't heard is that Google CEO say that our logo is not only the GOOGLE. Our logo is every single movement, every single opportunity of interaction that people have with our brand. So if, for example, they are talking with our smart speaker, then our logo might be different depending on the moment of interaction they are living with us. So, of course, it's very simple if you think about a technology company like Google to understand the idea that the value of a brand is a function of the ability to create great experience through interaction and through technology. But this is also the case with traditional great brands. And I give an example about a very great brand we have already talked about, which is Nike. Nike, since 2006, is working in understanding and unlocking the power of interaction through technology that people are having with their products. I don't know if you remember this, but in 2006, Nike, collaborating with Apple, pushed out to the market a new product called Nike Plus. And Nike Plus was a small bean, like the one you are seeing in the picture, that you have to put inside your shoes. Because the smartphone, back in the days, they were not able to track your running. They were not able to track your path. So basically, you need that bean in your shoes to allow you, when you are back at home, to sync the information from the bean to your smartphone and then to upload those information online. But the overall idea in 2006 was we need to understand how the people are using our product. We need to be part of the way they are experiencing our product. So we have to create digital connection through products that allows us to receive information, to understand how they run, to understand how much they need, when they need the new shoes, and how much they run every day. So that was a starting point. It was 15 years ago. And nowadays, what is Nike doing to reinforce this relationship with their clients through technology? Well, for example, I think you all know about their mobile app. They have Nike mobile app, they have Nike Run Club mobile app, they have Nike Training Club mobile app. And every single app is working not only if you have just bought a Nike shoes. I mean, you can have a Adidas shoes on your feet and you can download the app without any problem. So the overall idea here is not to provide something because you have a proof that you are my customer, is to provide you as a customer with some value that enable you in the relationship with my brand. So that in the moment that you need my product, the first idea that you're going to have is to buy Nike. And it's not only about mobile application, it's also something related to, for example, the way you can customize your product. There's Nike by You, which allows you to create your own Nike, personalized, customized with your needs. And of course, Nike wastes a lot of money every single time they create a personalized item for their customer. But the value here is that they don't only enrich the experience of their customer, but they also enrich their knowledge about the customer. Because if you know that everybody is buying now more blue shoes than red shoes, this allows you also to understand where to divest your investment. So to go to the blue instead of the red one, okay? So the overall idea here is that it's not enough anymore to create a strong message in the top and try to impact culture on the bottom, but you need to use digital in a bottom-up strategy to enable and interact with user, to find new ways to get more time of their days, to engage them in a relationship which allows us to create a new value. And here is the point, is that of course you still need traditional advertising. Of course you still need events. Of course you still need to go in places. The point here is that if Nike was not able to create not only the strong message in TV, but it was not able to create the kind of tools, the kind of application that we have seen on a digital level, then that was the situation in which Nike will lose the ability to be part of everyday life of their customer. So here is the point. We need to be able to align the two sides of these pyramids, which the first one is with a top-down approach in which our idea is to have a stronger share of voice than our competitors. And this is going to work again, again, and again, but it's not enough. You need also to create a bottom-up strategy, trying to find new way in which digital technology, content, a blog, a podcast can help us in reinforce the message that we are saying on the top level, and to align this message in a way that people are going to not only be passive in their relationship with their brand, but are going to be participants in this relationship. So not only a passive approach, but we have an active approach. Not only we have story in the top line, but we have experience. And we now know that experience stands for the sum of interactions through technology that people are having with our brands. And not only about saying stuff, but also about doing stuff with our customers. So this is the main idea behind the concept of branding by design. And I want to spend the last few minutes to show you some example about how to create a great brand through digital and through technology. Because if everything that I say so far is true, then if we want the brand to be more, to spend more time with a customer, then brand is a lot like a person. And branding is about finding the very best of that person. So in the book that I wrote, and I'm sorry, it's just in Italian, so I cannot share with you, I can only share this quote. In the book that I wrote, I tried to say this with these words. Branding by design is the way to create a platform that enables a fast and collaborative approach to support the brand transformation process in the long term, aligning the traditional component of storytelling, which was the top pyramid, with a more innovative one of the user experience. So our job is to create this alignment and to make it work for our customer. How can we create this? Well, I found out that there are 8 major characters that a brand might have to impact through digital, through technology, our customers' everyday life. And those characters are empathic, inclusive, empowering, personal, authentic, adaptive, reliable, and relevant. Of course, I have a lot of examples about each one of them, but I'm going to show you very quickly a few examples of those characters in action through digital for some big and small brands across Italy and the world. So the first character is empathic. What does it mean to be empathic? It means to know how to listen and share our vision of the world. And if you think about this, it's a very big change between advertising in the 80s and in the 90s, in which brands were talking, and never listening. And the ability that we nowadays have with digital to listen and understand what people are saying about us. And this is very crucial if you think, for example, about the reputation and the value that the reputation have for our everyday business. I want to share with you one case history about this this overall idea of being empathic with our clients. And this example comes from Brazil. Coca-Cola has created a great campaign in 2017, and the starting point of this campaign was a monitoring activity on reputation for Coca-Cola that find out that people mentioning Coca-Cola on social media were mentioning Coca-Cola in bad ways on social media related to LGBT community. So Coca-Cola find out about this issue, and the case history that I'm going to tell you how Coca-Cola react to those messages of bad reputation on social media. Let's roll the case history.
Será que essa Coca é Fanta?
Essa Coca é Fanta.
Essa Coca é Fanta.
Essa Coca-Cola é Fanta.
É um ódio que cresce cada vez mais.
Quanto isso cansa. A campanha foi chamada de Essa Coca é Fanta. E daí?
Eles transformaram aquele jargão,
Colocaram Fanta dentro da Coca.
Eu sou apaixonada.
Passada na Coca Fanta!
Essa Coca é Fanta, e daí?
E daí?
Essa Coca é orgulho, essa Coca é o respeito. Essa Coca é Fanta.
So what is brand reputation? What is a reputation of a brand? Is the overall conversation that people are having about you, even if you are not starting those conversations, if you are not even part of that conversation. Now, we cannot underestimate the value and the impact of those conversations in everyday people's lives. So even if we are not part of that conversation, we need to track them and to understand how to approach the kind of results. So this is, in my opinion, a very great example of empathic character. Another character, inclusive, which means knowing how to welcome and include people while defining our offering. And we have, again, many examples on this. I give you just one of them, which is the latest Pixar movie called Soul. Probably you have heard about it because Soul is the first movie created by Pixar that was created through an internal cultural trust made up of some of the studios, Black employee, a group that was diverse in terms of gender, jobs, and age. So we don't want to be exclusive. Once again, advertising in the 80s and 90s was about you need my product to be cool. You need my product and you are going to feel better. It's not this anymore because people want to be included, and also because there are a lot of opportunity about including people in terms of business value that you can create. And digital allows you to understand where are the people that you want to engage and to ask them directly an idea about how to engage with them. So allowing them to participate in our message earlier allows us also to be more inclusive. Then we have personal, and be personal means knowing how to make our message meaningful to each person. And I give you here a very nice example from Italy, which I hope you are going to enjoy. It's a company called Kite Milan. Kite Milano is a lingerie company founded by two girls in the early 30s. And the idea here is that they don't use any professional model. They don't want to create lingerie for like the Victoria's Secret style. They want to allow you to feel good with the kind of lingerie you buy. So that's the main idea. And to allow you this, they are also creating a tool to personalize, to customize your lingerie in many, many ways. And also this tool is something that it's possible for people like, for example, me, to personalize with a message for my girlfriend or for my wife. And it turns out that this is also very interesting because the kind of message that people put inside the product are going then to be taken by Kite people as the content of their advertisement. So once again, digital allows us not only to be personal, but also to receive message for our customer, to understand why they love us, why they need us, and then to use this as a tool to communicate outside. Another great character, empowering, which means knowing how to motivate people to improve thanks to the relationship with the brand. We already talked about Nike, so I don't want to put it again out about Nike, but let's talk a little bit about Apple stores. Probably you have heard about Apple stores and the value that they bring to the brand. In Apple Store, you don't only buy Apple products, you also have the opportunity to learn a lot of things, to attend to concerts, to be part of a community which is larger than just products and service. The overall idea here is to give people tools to empower their everyday life, which, by the way, are going to use the device, but the device is not the main objective here. So the ability to empower people before even thinking that they buy their product is something that digital allows us, and it's very, very important to address this. Another great character, be authentic. Be authentic means knowing how to tell that our uniqueness in a transparent and honest way. And there are, again, many cases, but the point here is that you cannot think about create your brand through digital without being authentic, because people have the same word power, the same voice as yours on social media and on digital. So you have to be authentic, otherwise they're going to find out very, very easily. A very important character that with pandemic explode in terms of value is the adaptive character, which is knowing how to adapt your offer to requests and opportunities. I want to show you one example of this, which is a project created by L'Oreal, if I remember correctly. It's called Signature Phases. Of course, you can imagine that not only the events market has been very, very impacted by pandemic, but also the cosmetics has been very impacted by. But there are a few brands that are using this situation, are using the problems that we're facing with the pandemic in a different way. And I give you the example of the one I'm showing to you right now. So we cannot go inside the traditional cosmetic store and try the product. Well, we have technology that helps us in this process. And since we spend a lot of time on meeting, on Zoom meeting and stuff like that, why don't we give our customers the opportunity to try on the product and to buy them directly through the Zoom conferences, through the Meet conference? Again, it's about finding the way to adapt the situation that we are facing, and digital allows us to find new ways to adapt us to the situation we are facing. Then we have the last two characters, which is the first one, reliable, which means knowing how to manage privacy and security with the responsibility and generating trust. The more we are experiencing our life online in the last year, the more it becomes evident that we need to be reassured about how people are using our data, our people are using our information, and what kind of value we get in return when we share our information to a company. I want to show you, probably you have seen this already, but I want to show you one of the funniest commercials I've seen in a while, created by Apple. Probably you have heard about the fact that Apple, with the latest iOS 14, decided to block a lot of data for sharing from application to users and the other way around. So this is the commercial telling users why Apple is better than Android, because Apple never in their life are going to sell your data. Otherwise, Android, since it's Google, their own business is based about selling data. I'm going to show you the video, then we can go on.
Felix?
Name.
Felix.
Date of birth.
November 5th, 1986.
Tracking current location.
Can I have a taste of your ice cream?
Here's what you spent last month.
Crumbs from your table. Can I interfere in your crisis? Can you hear those people behind
This will
me?
help with the itching.
Can I have a taste of your ice cream? Can I lick the crumbs from your table? No, mind your own business. Why don't you mind your own business? Why don't you mind your own business?
So once again, Apple has a lot of things to say in terms of great products, battery life, whatever. But when they need to create value for the customer, they don't speak about products features. They speak about those kind of emotional connection, emotional feelings they want to make people feel in everyday life. And privacy is one of the key topics right now and nowadays. The last character. So we arrived at the end of a presentation. It's relevant, which is knowing how to take a stand on social, cultural, environmental, and political issue. Back in the days, brands were not accustomed to take a statement on a social or political issue because it's in a way risky, no? So everybody knows that it's risky to say, I am with the gay community, I am supporting this idea, these other ideas. The truth is that nowadays, people and customers, both B2C and B2B, they ask us to be transparent in terms of what we stand for. And so we cannot simply say we don't have an opinion. We cannot simply say we don't want to share our position. We have to take a stand, a political stand sometimes. And sometimes this political stand, this environmental approach might help us also in creating great products. And I'll give you an example. There's a great new brand called Economy. It's in Northern Europe. And this is a new bank, basically. And the overall idea on this bank is that we know that clients are more and more investing in finding how they can become more sustainable in their day-to-day purchase. So we're going to give our customer a tool to understand how they can impact less and less on the environmental. Then they create the credit card called Do. What these credit cards do is that they track down your purchase and they are able to make you understand, based upon the city where you live and where you have your purchase, how much you are compensating your impact on the environment. And if in every single month, if your impact on the environment is higher than your ability to compensate, then the credit card stops working. Even if you have money on the credit card, if you have money on your bank account, the overall idea here is to give people, again, a tool to enable them, to understand them, and to give them something that they can have value in their everyday life. I know that it might look like counterintuitive because we are giving a problem to our customer. But if we think about that specific target we are addressing with this kind of product, which is, again, people interested in the environment, people interested in sustainability, this is exactly the product that we're missing in the market and that can create a great, great value for everyday life. Then there are, again, many, many examples. I'll give you just another one. Probably you've heard about an Italian startup called Freedom. And basically what Freedom does is they have a web platform that allows you to plant trees, basically, everywhere in the world. It is not only a B2C product, but it's also a B2B product. And it's very, very able to create a strong impact in the market. And they just earned like 8 million more in investment to grow, not only in Italy, but also abroad. So it's not only something related to be good and to have a good impact in the world, but it's also about creating value in terms of economic and financial. So trying to sum up what we have just said, we are talking about the post-digital brand, and we can summarize this in 3 key words. The first one is, if we want to create a great brand in a post-digital world, we have to be able to create a dialogue with our customer, a real dialogue, to be open to the fact that our customer are going to create another path of conversation, create new topics, and we have to be able to listen to them and try to adapt to their requests. So the first keyword is not anymore a monologue, it has to be a dialogue. The second keyword is that this dialogue should be smart, which means that every single interaction that we are able to create through technology brings to us more data, brings to us more information. We need to track this information. We need to use this information to create value in the experience that we are going to have with our customer. The big tech lead the way, of course, it's their key value in the market. But we, as a small company, small or big company, we can use this data, small or big, to create value for our customer. The only thing that we should not do is not to track down information from our website analytics to our application data to our ticket for our event. Everything is valuable information that we need to track down to create value for our customers. And the last keyword is we have to become open. A brand nowadays is not only something that is created through our company message, it's something that is created through a collaboration between our brand and the way people interact with the brand. Please take in mind that the example that we have shared before about Nike. If Nike is still a great brand, it's not only because they invest a lot of money in advertising 20 years ago or 30 years ago, but it's because they were able nowadays to use technology to allow people to get engaged with the brand on a daily basis and to give brand information, receiving back empowering tool, enabling tool that help them in everyday life. So basically, there's a great opportunity to use technology and digital to leverage those technology and digital to create great brands in the future. Technology is there, digital is there. The only point that is missing is our ability to be prepared for a dialogue and to prepare to be smart and open for our customer. I'm sorry to be a little bit longer than I thought I would, but thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, I'm absolutely happy to receive them.
Thank you so much, Giuseppe. That was really a very interesting presentation. You covered so many things, and I'm sure everybody got a lot of value from it. I think one of the queries that I would have to you is, you know, a lot of us are working with associations or, you know, slightly more older style brands. And what can we do, you know, to make them take that step? Because when they see all these lovely L'Oreal ads and Coke ads and Apple, they look, but we don't have those kind of resources. So what kind of simple steps can they make?
I thank you very much for the question, because sometimes another way to put this question is this something only related to B2C brands or it also applies to B2B brands or something like that? And association, if you think about that, it's a very niche, very specific word of the B2B area or the B2B business. I used to have as an answer to answer through examples, because examples help us in understanding that other people are already doing something and they were good. And I give you the example of Salesforce, which is, again, a huge company, very big company, but very focused on B2B. And what do Salesforce do every day on social media, on digital and else? They try to understand what kind of needs, what kind of content, what kind of values their B2B customers are willing to receive. You know, the only big mistakes that you can make on digital is to use the same grammar as with the previous tools. No, you remember the Bulova effect. So if we still are based upon our message, our content, our idea of showing off to our customers, this is going to be a big mistake and a waste of money, even if we don't spend a lot of them, but still we are wasting money. If we have a small amount of money and we are facing a very old or very traditional kind of customers, clients, or business professional, then the point is to trying to find out through digital, learning how they engage with your website, learning how they engage with your social content, what are their needs? What are their real needs that might help them in have a stronger relationship with you? And again, the Michelin example is super cool, I think, in this way. So thinking about what are their needs and how I can provide them something through digital that are going to help them to be more productive, to be more linked to me, whatever. The point here is to find out, and digital allows us to know this information, what are their needs. And based upon those needs, we can starting small and build upon those small kick off and try to create value for them.
Super. Thanks a lot, Giuseppe. That makes a lot of sense. Appreciate it. We're a small little bit over, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to just ask, unmute your phone or put it in chat. If anybody has anything that they would like to ask Giuseppe.
I would love to add something while you are trying not to be shy and to unmute your phone. I would love to answer a little bit more in depth to E-Star that was talking about Unilever before in sub-brands. There's a very cool example that might help you understanding how those kind of brands are now working nowadays, and which is Amazon, and the way Amazon is working with Amazon Prime and Amazon Video and Amazon stuff. The point is that with digital, it's the marketing, the communication, the branding activities that you can do might be very strictly related also to your business model. And I give an example. If you think about Amazon Prime, for example, you're not only in the transactional world, you are in the recurring revenue world, because you don't know when you pay your Amazon Prime, but I can imagine that almost 90% of the people attending this conversation has an Amazon Prime account, but probably you don't know when you are charged about Amazon Prime. The interesting part of the post-digital branding activity that you do with like Amazon Prime is that you create value through creating other brands for specific niche in your area, and you use your data that you can receive from your website, from your e-commerce, from your social media, to address those niche and to give them value under the big umbrella brand of Amazon. So Unilever was a brand created in 1780s and 90s and was great for television market because you only need to address a specific brand in a specific target. Nowadays, more and more, also P&G and Unilever are switching to the Amazon Prime model, in which you are going to have one big umbrella brand, and under the big umbrella brand, you're going to have your niche for every single target that you need to address. I hope that I answered the question correctly. So if you have another question, I'm here for a few minutes.
Thanks a lot, Giuseppe. I don't see anybody so far. No, everybody is shy today. Now I can see people a little bit better.
Thanks, Alexandra. Thanks, Alexandra. So of course, if you want if you are so shy, and if you want to engage on LinkedIn, if you ever want to have a conversation or other examples, or if you want a copy of a presentation, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I will be happy to share with you what we have just seen today. Once again, for me, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you all, and I hope we can see in person very, very soon in the future.